Hello. So on Thursday and Friday, we talked about some other parallelograms. What you need to do is you need to go find this special quadrilaterals notes. It was in a Google slide, but it should be in your Google Docs because when I gave it to you the first time, you had to make a copy. So definitely go look for it in your Google Drive, okay? Be really careful that you don't go back into Monday's lesson on Canvas. Don't click on this online notes because what's going to happen is it's going to ask you to make a brand new copy and all of your notes from before are going to be missing. So you definitely want to find again, in your Google Drive, you want to find your special quadrilaterals that you made a copy of, okay? All right, so what we have done already is we filled in the properties for rectangles, right? For parallelograms. So we know on a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are congruent. Those diagonals bisect each other, so that means when they cross, they cut each other in half. The opposite angles are congruent, and we also know that adjacent angles are supplementary. So we talked about rectangles, squares, and rhombuses on Thursday or Friday. When you go in, remember you want to add in that Google image, right? You want to go Google a picture of parallelograms. Make sure you type in parallelogram properties. For rectangles, you want to go Google image search for a rectangle, but make sure you type in rectangle properties. While you're there, you can go ahead and get the square and you can get the rhombus, okay? Because we are doing all three of them. All right, once you get those pictures in, here's what you need to know. Most people already know that a rectangle has got those 4 right angles in them, okay? So a lot of people are already pretty aware of that. Keep in mind with rectangles, opposite sides are also congruent. That's what these hash marks are. Opposite sides, again, are going to be congruent. We don't need to worry about the adjacent angles being supplementary. Of course they are because 90 and 90 makes 180, but you definitely want to get that all 4 angles are right angles. And I'm going to show you how to word that in just a second. The diagonals are definitely going to bisect each other. That means when they cross, they cut each other in half. But take a look at these diagonals. The diagonals are also congruent to each other. So the diagonals are equal in length, okay? So here are the properties that you need to get. Let's move this guy out of the way and make sure that you get these 5 things written down. Now I'm going to show you how to get this and tell you what that means. But again, you want to get written down that opposite sides are parallel. Number 2 says that opposite sides are perpendicular. That's what it means to be at a 90-degree angle. And I'll show you where to get that symbol in a second. Opposite sides are congruent, the diagonals bisect each other, and the diagonals are also congruent. Now, if you want to know where to get this upside down capital T, that's the symbol, the geometry symbol for being perpendicular. If you want to know where to get that, on Google Slides, you just go up here to Insert. You want to insert a special character. And then where it says search by keyword, you want to type in the word perpendicular. So that's P-E-R-P, and then it shows up. Okay, so once again, that is, I got to click on it. So once again, that is, you're going to go to Insert, Special Characters, start typing in perpendicular, and it pops up right there. Okay? All right, so that's what you need to know about rectangles. Let's go talk about squares. So again, when you Google image this picture, make sure you get one with all the hash marks. So with a square, most people know that the difference between a square and a rectangle is that a square has 4 equal sides, right? But there's another thing that you may not have known about a square. So a square, remember the diagonals are going to be congruent. They're going to bisect each other. But take a look at this symbol right here where O is. That symbol means that the diagonals are perpendicular. So they meet at a 90-degree angle. And so that is what those properties are that you need to go get. Opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are perpendicular, all the sides are congruent, diagonals bisect each other, the diagonals are congruent, and the diagonals are perpendicular. All right, let's go check out a rhombus. So when I think about, just really quickly, the difference between a parallelogram and a rectangle is that I think of a parallelogram as a rectangle that's been like pulled at the corners and like twisted a little bit, okay? And so for me, that's what I think about when I think about a square and a rhombus. I think the square and the rhombus are really similar, but I kind of pull the edges and like twist it a little bit, okay? So here is a rhombus, and if you take a look at a rhombus, it's just like the square in that all four sides are equal to each other, but they're not right angles, so the adjacent angles are definitely supplementary. The diagonals are still going to bisect each other, but the diagonals are no longer congruent. One of them is shorter, and another one is going to be a little bit longer. Notice that that symbol, though, in the middle is still there. And so that's a huge piece about rhombuses and squares that are the same. So all of the opposite sides are parallel. All the sides are congruent. The diagonals are going to bisect each other. The diagonals are perpendicular. And then the adjacent angles are supplementary. So when you're ready, you're going to go into your online textbook and you're going to look for, remember you get to the online textbook from the link that's on the home page that I fixed, by the way, because it was broken. I'm not sure how that happened, but it got broken. So what you want to do when you go in here is you want to look for in assignments, it's going to say interactive lesson, check understanding. And it's the one that is due either February 4th or February 5th. It just depends on what class that you're in. Okay, but it's due, again, it's due February 4th or February 5th. Interactive lesson, check for understanding. Okay, you're going to see in there two other assignments that are called Journal and Practice Workbook. And the reason I put these in here is because your workbook is actually online as well, and you're able to check your answers online. So what I want to do is I actually want to go over with you a problem or two on page 155, okay? So if you go to page 155, let me go get this particular one. I just clicked on the wrong thing for you guys. But again, I want you to go find page 155, okay? And what you're going to find is that page 155, right, that looks like this, you can also do on the online textbook and check your answers, okay? So we're actually going to go do that. I'm going to go do number 1 with you, and then I'll show you what you can do to type it into the online textbook and see what it looks like, okay? All right, so here we are. We're on page 155. Let's go do number 1. I actually want to do number 5 with you as well, but we'll go do start with number 1, okay? So it says for number 1 that each parallelogram is a rectangle. So these are definitely rectangles, and we have to find the length of the diagonals, okay? So I know that WY, which is 6x plus 1, and XZ, which they have listed as 9x minus 26, the diagonals on a rectangle are actually equal to each other. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set these equal to each other. Okay. All right. I'm going to do a little bit of algebra. So I'm going to subtract 6x over. I'm going to go ahead and add that 26. And I get x to be 9. But be careful because we want to find the length of the diagonals. It doesn't say just to solve for x. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to go in and plug this in. Okay, so I know that 6 times 9 plus 1 is going to give me the length of one of the diagonals. Okay, so what is that? 54, 55. One of the things that you can do to check is that you can plug it into the other one just to make sure that your 9 is actually correct. So let's see, is 81 minus 26 equal to 55? I don't know. Let's get the handy dandy calculator out. So 81 minus 26, 55. Look at that. At least I know I'm right. Okay, and I did something correct. So that's awesome. All right. All right, I'm going to skip number 3, but number 3, if it's a rhombus, remember, all of the sides are going to be equal to each other. So just set them equal to each other and see what you get for x. All right, I do want to go over number 5 with you. So if you take a look down here at number 5, it says that angle PGH, which is this one that I have marked, is equal to 8x plus 3. Okay, and then it says that this angle right here is 7x plus 34. Well, guess what? The diagonals are perpendicular. That means that 7x plus 34 is going to equal 90, okay? It's definitely going to equal 90 because it's perpendicular, okay? All right, so here we go. I'm going to subtract 34 over, so 7x equals 56. When I divide by 7, I get an 8. But because we're trying to find angle PGH, we're just going to go plug that in and get this angle right here. So what is 8 times 8 plus 3? Hopefully, you just said 67. Let's go see what that looks like in our online book. So I'm not really sure what's going on with this website, but what typically comes up, and I say that because when I try to open what I have assigned to you guys, it just keeps opening up the actual pages. And that's not exactly what I'm looking for. And so I'm hoping that it works for you. But what typically will pop up and what typically would open up is the workbook page, but in this format that you can see online. And so you would go through and answer some questions. If you get stuck, you can get a hint. You can even go in and click on different stuff. And I didn't even read these, but you can click on them and then check your answer to make sure that it's right. And so again, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the website, why it won't let me do it, but hopefully that is coming up for you and it is actually working for you. So again, there are hints. You can type in an answer and even go down here and click where it says check your answer to see if you're correct, okay? So hopefully that is working for you. If not, I'm so sorry. But we can talk about it when we meet in class. So I hope that that helps a little bit, at least helps you get started on page 155 and 159. I hope you have a great day. See ya.